Let me talk real briefly about this. There's lots of different SSL emulations, EQ emulations on the market. Waves makes a good one that I have and I've used for years. I still use it occasionally, but I'm kind of prone to using this one now. There's also one from Universal Audio, which is brilliant. There's, I think, several other companies that make them. I found this one from Plug-in Alliance, and I think this is the best one. You might want to look into it. They've got several different consoles. This is the SSL 4000E console. There's another one, I think it's the 9000, which is a more modern console. A lot of guys seem to like that one as well, but this is kind of one of their older consoles that I was very familiar with, and it's got some different ways that you can switch it over. The mode of it, basically, EQ type, from a black knob to a brown knob, which is a different iteration of their bass low frequency EQ. You can adjust the EQ type there. You can also adjust the type of dynamics section as well. You can switch that from an E series, which is default. You can switch that to a G series type compressor and expander. The difference is very nuanced. If you've worked with those consoles, you'll probably appreciate that. I rarely do that. I usually just leave it in the E, and sometimes I'll switch the EQ type to the brown knob as it's a little bit different, and I won't go into the details on that, but it has a little bit of a different tonality. So check that one out, BX console. This is the SL4000E. You can get them on sale through Plug-in Alliance. You might want to look at the 9000 as well. There's a lot of cool features about it that you want to look into. A lot of the time I'll just go right for those filters, those low and high pass filters that are not on the top here. I wish they're at the top, but they're at the bottom, which is a lot easier to get to. Probably one of the first things you're going to want to do is go to those filters and roll off lows that you don't want and roll off highs that you don't want. The knobs are actually buttons as well, so you can turn them on and off. Works really well with the Rocksolid Audio Micro 4K. So it's a powerful little team right there. It saves a lot of time. Like I said, I've got a bypassed version of this 4000E EQ on all of my channels now. I used to go in and kind of select different EQs for different instruments and voices. But what I've found is it's a lot faster and kind of more intuitive just to have the same channel strip on each channel, just like you would on a mixing console. And then if you wanted to reach for something more specialized, which I do from time to time on a vocal or something like that, you can do that, but it's very simple just to open up the channel that you want to work on and unbypass the EQ, or you can do that on your DAW as well, and then go to town on it. It's just, it's much faster than trying to open up individual EQs on a per channel basis. The workflow is a little faster too, because you're dealing with the same types of EQs across your whole DAW. So it took a little getting used to, but once you've got your template set up correctly, that same EQ is going to be like on all your channels. What I'm basically doing is emulating an SSL console on my DAW. And there's other types. You don't have to do that. You could have any kind of EQ you want. You could do Neve console if you wanted to, or a Harrison console, and you could use the same controller on those EQs. You just have to map it a little bit differently. So that's my thought on it. Between the P1M controller and the SSL controller, I feel a little bit more at home on my DAW now, and I'm able to do several things at once, and I never really even have to take my hand off the mouse. So I can be doing an EQ change here and a fader move over here, or do that with this, you see. Another nice thing I'll do with the controller is set it up for some of my reverb plugins. And scroll on over to my reverb section, right over here. And if you're not familiar with my reverb section, I've got a whole video on just how I've set up my sends and returns in my DAW for that. Put a little thing on the screen for you here about that if you want to check that out. You can set up your Micro 4K to adjust any of them, but let me pull up one that I use quite a bit. And there's the capital chambers with my favorite chamber number 4 opened up right away. You can set up the SSL controller to adjust things like the reverb decay by adjusting the length of the distance between the microphones and the speakers right there. Any of the parameters you want, you can switch microphones. You can adjust the EQ. Switch rooms if you like. probably the most handy is going to be the filter. You can adjust the pre-delay. Any of the parameters you want, you can do with your controller. It just takes a little getting used to and trying to memorize where everything is. Let me show you one more. Pull up an 1176. And the 1176 is pretty easy to operate with your mouse. You can certainly do that. You can also set it so you can do it with your SSL controller. I've got the input and the output on two different knobs there. Any type of reverb or plugin that you have that you'd like to assign to map with your controller, you can, if that makes your life a little bit easier. It's really nice because you can very easily unplug the USB cable out of there and move that out of your way if you're not using it. One thing that I'll do is put that aside. And with this new computer I have down here, I realized that I have the power to edit video with DaVinci. So I'll bring in my little DaVinci Resolve Speed Editor. I can just plug that in there if I'm editing video, which I'm not doing right now, obviously, but this computer really works well with editing video. It's a newer Mac Studio M4 chip, and it really blazes through video editing. So I'm starting to get away from using my laptop for that and do video editing down here, where I've got a nice studio where people can expand out into instead of huddled around with a laptop. Also, I've got a better sound system down here. I can pump up the audio and really let the customer hear the audio instead of listening on a laptop or with a pair of headphones. So that's kind of expanding my business a little bit. And I highly recommend you get the little speed controller that goes with it. And then when I'm not using it, if I'm not doing a video editing session, put that aside. And with USB-C, you just plug it back in. And you're back to a EQ controller. So check that out. Rocksolid Audio out of UK. So I'm going to open up my mouse mode, and that's where you're going to go into each device, create a new device within your workstation. At the top, you determine which workstation you're in, and then you create a new device. And there's all the devices that I've taken the time to create and map, and then you can go into customizing those with the mouse mode. It's a little weird to look at first, but when you get the hang of it, it's quite easy. Unfortunately, with Digital Performer, you are forced to use mouse mode. They haven't really integrated the Rocksolid device with Digital Performer. I sure wish they would. I've written them a couple times about that to see if they would, but it doesn't. They're not doing it. So you have to go in and create your own little maps. If you're on another DAW, a more popular DAW like Pro Tools or Studio One, there's other DAWs that it's a little bit more intuitive. Then you don't have to use the mouse mode. You basically go into your host mode, and you don't have to do all the mapping. You just select the device that you want to use, and it's already mapped. So if you're using Digital Performer, you might be a little disappointed by that, but once you get used to working in mouse mode, you're just fine. Other than that, I appreciate your watching. If you've got any questions about any of the gear or anything I missed, just drop me a line or shoot something in the comment section below, and I'd be happy to get back to you. I respond to just about everybody if they're nice. And that's it. Till next time. Aloha from Hilo, Hawaii. Shoots.